Welcome to Close Watch, now a proud member of the Odd Pods Media Network. This is the show where we get to know our guests through the movies they love. I'm your host, Robert Yaniz Jr., and this is episode 28. We are concluding our journey through the history of movie musicals on this little bit change of pace for the show, trying to focus a little more on a genre, give us some continuity, and mostly have a focus, which makes everything easier on my end, and I think more interesting for listeners as well. As always, you can find more episodes of this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, and other podcatchers, as well as crookedtable.com. Ratings and reviews are always appreciated. Today, we're discussing 1978's Grease, and I am honored to welcome to the show Kai Yaniz. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Kai is frequent Crooked Table guest and current wife of Rob. I say that like I've been married a lot. Current so far. The last ones, we'll see how long she lasts. And my wife. And here we are to talk about Greece. So to tell people who haven't heard any of our like a bazillion past conversations. You've been on Close Watch, you've been on Franchise Detours, you've been on Crooked Table Podcast when this feed was that. You've even been on Back to Bluey, where the show I co-host with Darren Lundberg. So you're much to your dismay / excitement. How are you feeling being on mic, especially now on camera?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't been on your show, Robert Yaniz Jr. show in a while. Like to actually talk about movies, not to do like a perfect commentary or something. So, and then now you were doing doing videos, it's just getting used to. Like I do Teams calls at work, and so few of them are on video. And because if it's going to be on video, I sometimes have to like prepare and like the outfit that
Right.
I'm going to wear instead of just, yeah.
Well,
But I didn't
hopefully,
spruce up my face this time.
hopefully at the end of this call, you won't be like that. Could have been an email.
It could
Let's
still
end
happen.
it. Yeah. Well. um. So, what is there anything you want to tell people of what you have going on? I'm wearing this. You could tell people about that
Uh,
if you want to
yeah,
mention some of your
I can kind
creative
of see it.
pursuits.
Yeah, thank you
Hold
so
on.
much for mentioning that. Yeah, yay. Okay, there you go. There you
You
go.
can see part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a little bit more. I love the pride that you wear with this shirt. So what Rob is modeling here is the Xennial Dad, or the Xennial model of the shirts that I created. I have Xennial, I have Xennial Mom, Xennial Dad, raised by Xennials, and then there's on the bottom there, that you didn't really see. There's like four subsets of like being a tech, being recession proof, tech savvy, a social media pioneer,
right there.
content creator, which was Rob's offering, and requires coffee, and raised by Xennials is kind of similar, except there's this like smoothie and something else about nonsense.
And
I don't know,
we
but
were also
but to
talking about like just to jump in for a second. We were even talking about like today, like millennials, etc. Are like basically the Starbucks generation,
Yes,
which is why it's
exactly,
funny. Yeah.
exactly. And you mentioned millennials, and to those that do not, those that are listening that do not know, because it's a very specific period of time. It was from the 1977 to 1983. Is a very small group of generation, which is a subset of millennials, also known as elder millennials, but we're called exennials, and it's a very small subset. So that's what exennials means, is those birth years. And I also have a millennial mom, millennial dad, raised by millennials, just for the bigger population. And Rob does have the QR code on the shirt. That was also his idea for my store.
It's
So
gonna be hard to.
it'd be great if you guys think that's funny. You want to wear them, give them to your
Oh
kids,
crap!
gift them. Please go check my Etsy store. Be brave, be bold. I also, depending on it, I may also do like a customization for, the generation, if you're born in the 19 for like Gen X or like a baby boomer. I don't know. I have to see who asked for it to do it. But I am open to more personalization for the generations. If you like, I don't know. I like the idea. I think it's cute.
So
But
just start.
thank you, Rob, for that
You're welcome. And that
promotion.
that one wasn't planned. I just put the shirt on this morning, and then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, actually,
He's been
that
wearing it a
that
lot,
ties in perfectly. It's
which
very
is
comfy.
great. Yeah, he's wearing it more than I'm wearing mine.
So
And then
basically,
our daughter wears hers a lot too. It's great.
search on Etsy for is it's just B, the letter B, bold, letter B, brave, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because I think, yeah, something about SEO or something. Yeah, so be brave, be bold. Yeah,
Make sure after this recording, send me the link, and I'll try and put it in the description
you got
and
it.
stuff, so we
And
could do that.
I'm also on Blue Sky where I posted that. Yeah, but other than my shirts that I was working on, I don't really have much else going on. I'm not a podcaster. I
You
just
have
guest
you
host
have
on yours.
videos on YouTube. You just haven't posted them in a long time.
Oh my gosh,
We gotta
yeah.
get back on. I'm always trying to. If you enjoy this episode, reach out to Kai on Blue Sky and be like, you should do more stuff. Be a content creator, like your shirt
Like,
says. Yeah.
yeah, no, but gosh, those videos were one child pre-COVID
No,
away.
our
I
daughter
think I stopped
was
posting like 2018 or something.
3, 2, 3. She was like
I
a
think she was
toddler,
about, yeah, she's about to turn 3 when I stopped
and now
doing
she's 8.
them.
So
And we
for
have a
for
three and a half
perspective,
year old
we sure do,
boy. Yeah.
and they're both sleeping, which is why we're recording this at night. Um,
Now you said it.
Sorry, a little behind the scenes. So yeah, so that's what Kai is going on. So basically, Xennial would be you said 77,
I think it's
78?
70. I think it's 77,
Okay, to
77
like early late
83
70s, early 80s.
to 83.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
basically,
Yeah.
if you were in diapers when Grease came out, that's the oldest version of Xennial.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
That's something around
It was 97,
se
1978.
78, yeah.
Okay.
No, we
Yeah.
talked about this too
Perfect.
when we were watching the movie. We
Love
were like,
segue.
Grease, Joe Travolta had been in like 3 movies, and then it was like Saturday Night Fever, and then this, and then off and running, for the next like decade plus.
And
Um,
then had to come back.
and then had a
And
couple.
then had another comeback.
He's had like 2 or 3 comebacks. Yeah, it's been an
Yeah.
interesting ride for his career. But famously, you have a complicated history with musicals a little bit. I think I've even referenced it on the show before on in talking about musicals. Yeah, like my wife doesn't usually like musicals because of blah blah
You
blah blah
talk about
blah.
my wrist?
I do. I did talk about you a little bit. Some people are so touchy. Um, so what is your overall kind of history with the genre? Because I know, surprise, surprise, for anyone watching or listening to this, I'm the head in the clouds dreamer type. Kai is the more grounded, like this doesn't make sense. Uh, grounded
I
person,
work in
pragmatic.
analysis, you guys.
Yeah,
So, and
exactly.
have for a long time.
Exactly, and I'm recording podcasts and writing and things of that nature. So, what is your philosophy when it comes to musicals, I guess on the screen? Let's start there.
Um, this is an interesting question, at least the way that you phrase that. Um, I have a hard time like taking myself out of the movie to for people to jump around and dance and sing. Like I'm like,
Mhm.
what is this? And I think like because I've gotten older, like it's just harder to have to get like look at it in that fantastical type of way. Exception of that actually was Wicked. I was easily transported because it is a fantastical
Yeah,
movie. Um, and it's set in a fantastical world. So it was, and and obviously it was based from the Broadway musical. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can get into this. But like, and this is going to be blasphemous to probably to a lot of listeners, but like West Side Story, I just couldn't. I just can't do it. Like I can't do it. I couldn't do it with the original. I couldn't do it with the remake. Like this is set
so
in New York City.
somewhere
It's
Darren is listening to this and weeping because
I
Darren is my
know.
my co-host for that conversation on both versions of West Side Story for like 2.5 hours. I think we talked about that. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't appreciate like what that film or other musicals are doing. Like, I think that's amazing to have that
Yeah.
kind of talent to dance and sing and all at the same time in such an um, amazing kind of way. But it's just it's just hard for me to not watch it. Like, what? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I just, and I don't enjoy it as much. I don't get as engaged in it. And I guess people could say, well, Kai, just like get into it. It's a movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's a movie. Enjoy it.
Are you quoting
Um,
me on the podcast? That's what it sounds like.
and I also think I get some of that from my mom too, as I didn't even realize until kind of recently that my mom is not a big musical person
Right.
either. Like, she's seen more like musicals on stage, not Broadway, but like she saw Legally Blonde recently, and she's just like, she has some attitude. She's like, this is just not good.
It's it's
And maybe it's just not good. I don't know. I don't.
it's funny
But
too because you and I we have opposite struggles, I guess. Like I see a movie musical and I'm like, okay, this is the world you're presenting to me where this is the norm, where two people do break into song, and dance to express their emotions. And so it's an easy layup for me to be like, even a bad musical movie is still a musical. It's still a movie musical. So things like Mean Girls, which I've mentioned on this podcast before, which is not a great movie, but I'm like, but they still sing in it. So it's fine. Some of the songs are decent. Um, but in in person, it's been a journey for me to sort of get over that weird that sort of separation between seeing something on stage, because on a screen it's there's a distinction, there's a separation between me and the world, and where the singing is the norm. But on stage people are in front of me and they're singing, and this is what's happening. And so initially, I think, especially as a kid, that weirded me out because I was like, why are they acting like it's the same issue. It's the same issue I have as at Renfests, at like Renaissance festivals and fairs. Like, I don't like that. Why are we calling each other wenches and acting? I have a smartphone in my hand. Why is this? I don't get it, and it weirds me out. It's like mass hysteria. I think I register it as in some way because it's happening in real life. But I think for you, when like when we spoilers for a potential future episode of this podcast, when I talk about it there, um when we saw Wicked on Broadway recently, you didn't have that same struggle because you're like, oh, real actors on stage singing, and it's a performance, and you can appreciate the skill rather than when it's edited and cobbled together through various takes, and it's so constructed. You know what I mean? It's more like
mhm.
live and in the moment, and I think you connect to it better that way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think some of that um, is because I used to. I used to do plays.
Right.
You know, the second play I was in, I was 12 years old, seventh grade, and I was in. I was they, they called it "It's Scrooge's Christmas." This is community theater, and they didn't want to take copyright, but I played Fan, Scrooge's sister, and there was singing in that, and I think I even sang. Yeah, I think I sang. So maybe that's it too, is that I can, and I've been around, I've been around theater. One of my friends, my childhood friends, she's done theater. She's doing like theater in her master's program. So like I more grew up around that. Um, Not to mention, and I know we're gonna about to get to this, but one of my favorite movies growing up was Grease. So, and I that was the first musical I ever saw on stage was Grease. And my mom to go back to my mom. So my mom was like legally bad, legally blonde, like bad, not good. And I don't know if that's because of the musical element, but she did enjoy. She also saw Grease around that same time too, and she said that she enjoyed Grease because I think it's also because she was more familiar with the music, so
Mhm.
it was like more fun for her and not, I guess, bad. So anyway.
Well, I think there's a level of I think a lot of people, and I kind of have this a bit, have to have or feel like a bit of familiarity helps them get into something that's a Broadway or a stage production. listen if it's something based on an existing property, or if you've heard the soundtrack before, or if you've seen like the pro shot at home, and then you know what I mean? Like it helps to, because a lot of times it's, if your people, and I know you have this issue a bit, who have difficulty like following lyrics, especially if a song is going quickly and so much of the storytelling is in the lyrics. If you don't know the lyrics, or you have no basis or foundation for the story that's being told, you're kind of, wait a minute, what's going on? But if you've seen the Grease movie a million times, and then you're seeing the stage production, even if you don't catch every little bit, you're like, oh, this is the part where this happens generally. So I think that helps. I think that's also why I showed you the divisive Phantom of the Opera film from 2004 before we saw Phantom of the Opera on Broadway in like 2012, 13. When did we do that?
I
Something like that.
sure was before. I thought it was
Hey,
after. I thought we made up the because
or did I show it to
Phantom.
you after?
I
We're
think it was
not like, we're
after.
way off Greece at
Yeah,
this point, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, no, because Phantom of the Opera, to those listening, was my first Broadway show that I saw. Which the fact that I've even gotten to see one, now three, is pretty incredible in itself. But that
Yeah.
was the first one that I saw. That was what Rob and I saw together. Our first like official trip to New York City, and we do get to go up there from time to time because he has family that lives up there. So we went to. So Rob was like, "Yeah, we should go see a Broadway show," or maybe I said we should go to a Broadway show, and I wanted to see Phantom of the Opera. So I think it was after because it seemed like it was a
Do,
spontaneous decision.
do you remember being confused seeing Phantom of the Opera on stage because you didn't like that would help?
Yeah, I didn't understand what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. So then I must have
And I
showed
think
it
I
to you
even
after.
asking him like, "What is happening?" And then
You're
I
like, I'll
felt
show you the
really
movie when we get
bad for
back.
the actor who had to keep like being on her back like this. And I've had I've had back issues throughout my life, so I'm like, oh, I really feel for her to have to be in that position. I kept I kept thinking that I think I said that a couple of times.
But
That totally took me out of it.
But so Grease is one of those movies that for you is sort of grandfathered in. You're like, I have enough familiarity with it that Grease, I don't know, Chicago. How do you feel about some of the other ones we've covered on this show? Like Little Shop of Horrors, I know you like that, but not like me, right?
Yeah,
And
but
then,
I grew up on that one a lot too.
yeah, see, me too, me too.
Yeah,
But I saw it at much too early an age.
but
Uh,
I mostly remember the Bill Murray or the Steve Martin dentist scene.
Well, it leaves an impact. Fiddler on the Roof, we've talked about. You actually like that more than me until I
Yeah.
watched it for this podcast, and then I was
Hmm.
like, "This thing rules!" Like I didn't expect that. And then Chicago, which I talked about with
Yeah.
the famous Ashley
Yeah,
Grant.
I would have loved to see that if it was if it ever has a revival. I want to see Chicago on
Yeah,
stage. Like
but
that's mine.
but
That's
that's
my
but that's another one that it's sort of weirdly grandfathered in because I guess you were part of the phenomenon when it happened. I
yeah.
guess, yeah. So
Hmm.
what do you remember about your first time watching Grease? When did that, or do you remember it?
And
Like
also, hey, why
what
are you not asking me about cats?
I didn't, because it's not part of this series. We did do a crooked commentary on Cats, which is an interesting movie. I it's yeah, I enjoy that movie for what it's trying to be and the weirdness that it is. But yes, so I know you don't like cats. That's why I
Yeah,
don't
go
want to
check that out on the old school
post
crooked table
post
podcast.
traumatic post traumatic stress disorder. I don't want to trigger something in Kai by bringing up cats. The movie that I took our daughter to, and then halfway through she was like, "No, no, no, I got to get out of here." And I was
And
like,
she's
"It's okay,
three.
we're watching the movie." She's like, "Nope, nope, out of this movie, please." And I was like, "All right, fine." So we left halfway through, and then I was sick and had a fever dream for like 3 days about anthropomorphic cats, and I was like, I gotta see this because I need to free myself from this hell that I'm living in. And then saw the whole movie, and I was like, this is strange. I can't wait to force Kai to watch it for the podcast, which is what I did. So you can go and
And
listen to
wasn't
that
it?
somewhere.
Didn't you think around that time or something like that after it had kind of had already started? You're like, I think I had COVID.
I
Like
might have.
early
It
signs of
was
COVID.
January 2020, around there. Like it came out like Christmas, and so yeah, it very well could have been early COVID, or the precursor to COVID. So what do you remember about watching Grease as a kid? Why did it resonate with you?
So I have three musicals ish that I like grew up watching, and there were three houses, three separate houses I watched them at because I basically spend a lot of my time at my family friends' houses with some of these people that I'm still really good friends with to this day. But Greece was at one person's house that I was over at a lot and watched it constantly. Then Crybaby was another person's house.
No bueno.
Um, Watched that constantly, even though I should not be watching that movie at 7 years old.
Or
Maybe some
ever.
people could say not to watch it at all. Um, and Hairspray. That's why I said ish because Hairspray is not. John Waters even said he's like Crybaby is my musical. Hairspray is my dance movie, and
But
that was
there
at a
is a
person's house.
Hairspray musical from 2007
It
that I
was,
would recommend.
yeah,
Good movie.
and that one's good. I don't, but um, so those three, those were the three big movies that kind of I guess resonated with me. But Grease, I specifically had the soundtrack to that I listened to constantly, more so than Crybaby. Actually, I don't think I got the Crybaby soundtrack until I was like a teenager or something, for whatever reason. But Grease, Dirty Dancing, those were the two movie soundtracks that like were constantly going. And I don't even remember Dirty Dancing, so I can't even like. So I think it really just was a music thing for me, and I think that, and definitely to that point. So that's the thing with Grease is like it just the music. Just I love the music so much, and the story was fine. I also really like the characters, and I guess I like the plot, but the music that's what I was listening to all the time on my stereo, my boom box at 6, 7 years old, and just it was just so easy to sing along to it and dance to it, and it was fun, and it's such great one liners too, which we'll get into those. But
Yeah.
um no soundtrack, it
It's
what is it, it what's the cool it's a cool it it's awesome. I don't know, it's
it
an awesome
slaps.
soundtrack.
It
It's
slaps.
which one?
It
Yes,
slaps.
exactly,
Yeah.
it slaps, yeah.
As
Thank
the
you.
I don't even think the kids say that anymore. I feel like they've moved on to something else. Um, I also noticed it's interesting to note because I was gonna say, well, all three of those movies are also about like teenagers trying to find themselves. So I don't know if that was an element of the coming of age part of it that you responded to, but or just like, oh man, is this what it's like to be a teenager? You just wear a leather jacket and run around. But also, but hold on one second. But then also, all three of those are period pieces set in either the 50s or the 60s, which is the other interesting thing. They were all made in the 70s or 80s or 90s, and they're all set in like 50s, 60s, like greaser era, which I think is another interesting sort of connection that I don't even know if you realize that.
No, I guess not. um
So you're really
and
into
that
that
you're talking about coming
lifestyle.
of I, I mean like the family friends, their parents were like of that of that time period, so
Yeah,
maybe that was something. um Also coming of age, I mean, I'm not really coming of age at 6 and 7 years old, but I had older friends,
right.
like, so there was a, like, a 4 year 5 year age gap. I'm not even including my sister's 3 year age gap. So they were, I guess, coming of age. They were like 11, 12 years old, about to become teenagers. So I don't know,
Mhm.
maybe it was
You're
being like,
also probably, if I know your daughter, which I do because she's my daughter, um, I would say you're probably also a precocious 6 or 7 year old who is
yes.
more like 10 or 12, being like, man, I can't wait to grow up and driving cars and rocking and rolling and whatnot. Like, so that doesn't seem like a huge leap for you to be like, oh, being a high schooler is gonna rule.
And I just also, the three leading men in those three movies were all attractive. Johnny Depp being like first and foremost most
Yeah,
attractive, and so maybe that was the other thing. I'm like, oh, those guys are cute. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
Um, but that's a interesting point. Like because with Crybaby, John Waters even said like that's the era he grew up in, but he did those movies were more satirical. That
yeah,
movie was more satirical of that time period.
right.
Grease wasn't being satirical; it was clearly trying to be a period piece. And I don't know what the deal was with Hairspray. I guess it was just again John Waters, growing up in that era. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
but we
also
will not we will not be doing a Hairspray or a
I mean, I
Crybaby.
would talk about the 2007 Hairspray maybe at some point, and that I mean, that would be interesting. If I ever do to make a series on this show of just adaptations, do like the original Grease and then the Grease musical, do like remakes kind of or something. We'll see. Table that for the future. But it's also there's a is a real it was a real thing in the 70s to be like, hey, remember the 50s? Because they had this, you had Happy Days, and then in the 90s, they're like, hey, remember the 70s and 80s? That 70s show is for that, and Wedding Singer in 98, which is set just 13 years earlier, basically. But now I don't feel like we're looking back as much. I feel like we're like, hey, remember 2000? Like, not really. Like, nobody's going back because I don't think like things have changed. I mean, they have changed a lot, but not in demonstrable ways where you're like, hey, that was the style of the 2000s. Like, we're getting some 90s, I think, throwbacky stuff, but not as much. I think it's interesting this movie's version of what the 50s was like.
Yeah. Do you think it's accurate? I mean, I know you weren't
Yeah, not
alive.
necessarily. I think it's a romanticized version of it. A lot of it is romanticized. Like they meet on the beach, and you're like, what are the odds of that? They're gonna end up in the same school. Like all of that is the. We'll get to the flying car at the end, which I knew you and I are like, what is that about? It's just it's an interesting sort of cross section of different periods and different sort of cultures in a way. And this is also the most 30s looking teens of all time. Like I feel like this is when Hollywood was just like, yeah, they're 30, but they could play 17, whatever, it's fine.
But they
And
can't.
then
So,
well, I mean, but then after this, you had all the slasher movies where every single one of those like Friday the 13th movies, those people are in high school, but they're like 30, they're 35 or whatever in real life. Do you think this is when Hollywood just gave up on trying to cast like age appropriate, age accurate actors in these roles for especially for movies set in high school?
I think Greece is egregious about it. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the thought was with casting Olivia Newton-John, other than the fact she was cute, and Soccer Channing, who were both like 30 years old. Like, I
Yeah.
don't. It's like I don't know if it was like supposed to be just an inside joke or something, because I haven't seen something be as egregious like, in casting age wise other than that movie. I mean, yeah, we have the people that look like they're 30, but Grease took it to a whole nother level, and I haven't seen it since. And you're talking about slash movies. I mean, look, think about like with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare
Did I
Before
mention?
Christmas.
I mean,
We did a commentary on that too. Shameless plug.
but to mention him again, Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
He looks like a teenager. I think he was kind of a teenager.
Yeah.
And Heather Langenkamp, she was like a teenager. She was 19,
She was
and she
like,
looked
yeah,
like one.
1920. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So to that point, no, they, they no, I don't know. Yeah, they did not pull it off. I mean, even being 6 years old, I'm like, they look like they're 30. Oh,
Well,
and then Beverly Hills 90210 did it too.
yeah. Which was after this. That's what I'm saying. Did
Yeah.
this was this the
Yeah.
turning point where people are like, yeah, whatever, people don't care. Like
Yeah, I
Soccer
get
Channing's it start when she has her big song that we'll talk about the music later. I'm like, she's not 17, 18. She's like on her second divorce. Like she's got a complicated life. This is not a high school student anymore. Who are you trying to kid? Movie.
clearly yes. The
I
the
guess
audience.
so.
So
So
but it's
as a yeah, go ahead.
oh nothing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, as a kid, you were swept up in this. At what point did you realize just how inappropriate this movie is? Because that's the other thing we talked about. There's jokes in here about there's a joke in here when the T-Birds try and get into Kanicki's car where I think Rizzo is like, "What do you think this is, a gangbang?" And I was like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing, Grease? And they talk about their period. They put the aspirin and the coke or whatever. There's lots of like all the lyrics of Grease
Just
Lightning,
lightning.
underage drinking, et cetera, all that sexual exploits. At what point were you like, I don't think I should have seen this at 6 or 7 years old? Because
Um,
we've talked about it and we're like, I don't think our daughter needs to see this just yet.
I think it was when I think it was when the subtitles were put on, like, and we, been watching subtitles with everything we watch now, like a decade. Because one, we're Xennials, and also that's
I
just
was
what,
literally about to gesture to the shirt. Yeah, it's a
and
generational
it's
thing.
also because we learned. the TVs are not designed for um sound audio anymore.
Speakers in the back. Was it Vox that did that video that we watched?
Yes, it was.
Certain people listening, find that video on about why we listen to why we watch everything with subtitles on Vox's YouTube channel. It was really interesting. It had a lot of really good points to make about that. Sorry, go
Mm,
back to your thing.
okay. Um, but I think it was when we watched it with the subtitles on back like a decade ago, and maybe it was when we watched it with your parents or something. Because even though I love
Maybe.
that movie and I watched it a lot when I was a kid, I don't watch it really anymore.
Well, we talked about
Um,
your thing with lyrics too earlier in this
exactly.
conversation. So yeah,
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I'm hearing something different,
yeah.
and it's not like I would even know what those didn't I didn't know what those things were at
Right.
that
Well,
age.
yeah.
Um, but then I'm watching the movie on subtitles, and I'm like, oh God, that's what they're saying. Like I had really no idea. And it's a lot of the innuendo. A lot of it is in the music, but of course, I think with Rizzo and Kaniki, they're like the worst with the sexual innuendo. But a lot of it still kind of goes over your head, like um,
A hickey from Kaniki is like a Hallmark card, cared enough to send the very best or something, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, but that's when I think I noticed it. I was like, wow, I was watching this constantly.
Well,
6 years old, listening to it constantly, and I didn't even know what I was listening to.
and I probably
But I
saw it.
also still don't know what I listened to.
Well, you're just like da, 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 and you're
Yeah,
like, and they're
the
saying
beat.
stuff. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. And then I think I first saw this as like probably a teenager, 10, 12, something like that. And it was the version on, I've told you this, but I'm telling the people, uh, on the Family Channel. So it was heavily edited. There was no "Look at Me, I'm Sandra D." They really, which is why when the reprise happens later on that Sandy sings, I was like, this is random. What the hell is this doing here? Because I didn't have the context for that being a melody earlier in the movie. I remember Grease Lightning being really cut to ribbons, that sequence. And then we'd cut like mid lyric to the chorus again. And I was like, whoa. So when I eventually saw the regular version, that was a real eye opener for me. Um, I think it works. I think it's interesting, but it's it okay, let's just get to this. It bothers me that this is a movie that so many kids and so many girls specifically watched growing up and are like, "Oh, I wanna be like Sandy," and I'm like, "You have something to say, I'm gonna get to you." She's clicking the thing. I'm gonna there's only the 2 of us. I told you we wouldn't need that feature because I can see that you're gonna have something to say. I don't love the message that it sends. To me, the message is at the end. Sandy is like, "Oh, I need to drastically change who I am," and Danny takes the jacket off. He's like, "Cool, I can stay who I am." And then Sandy like starts smoking and like basically changes her entire style, puts on a lot of makeup and dresses tight clothes to please her man, etc. That was my initial read on the movie for a long time, and why I was like, yeah, no, our daughter does not need to see this. I don't need to think like I need to, because that's the thing. The "Look at Me, I'm Sandra D" reprise is also her being like, I know what I have to do. Didi and Didi Khan's Frenchie is like, "Oh, you're gonna be okay? Are you okay, Sandy?" She's like, "No, but I think I know a way I could be. I need to change everything about myself to make the guy I like happy, and I don't care for that message. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go off."
I think we'll talk more about that. Let's talk more about that later because I know we had a brief conversation about this while it
Yeah,
was happening. Because guys, we watched this movie together at the same
yeah,
time. So, um, but I also wanted to add of my other experiences that I did see this as a Broadway play or on tour play when I was 10, and I think they did change the lyrics around to Grease Lightning. Um, which like the musical just bothered me because it was so different
mhm,
from the movie, but I know the musical was first. And I'm just
right.
like, what is this? Like, this is not the movie that I know. So I was kind of annoyed by the musical. And they did like I think the movie might have had more sexual innuendo than the musical did. Like
That
I
that could
um
be.
and I remember like being at an event and there was these like these little boys that were putting on a theater performance, a dance performance, and they were dancing Grease Lightning, and obviously, like it was a very, um, if I remember correctly, it was a very edited version of that song that they were dancing to, and these kids were like 6,
I wonder if Kids
and
Bop has
they're
done a
like,
version of this movie, any songs from this movie, because I'd like to hear that. Kids
yeah,
Bop's Grease Lightning. That would be interesting.
yeah.
So
Well,
so
Summer
what is
Lovin' has stuff in it too.
yeah,
We talk a
yeah.
lot about Grease Lightning, but Summer
Did she
Lovin'
put up a fight?
also,
Which College Humor brilliantly did a sketch on, like, geez, 10, 15 years ago. That was a long time ago. So let's just do the ending now. Like, what are your thoughts? What is your rebuttal? Because I know when we were watching it, you're like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about da 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 da. Da." So I don't want to steal your piece. You go for it.
yeah, yeah. And for a long time, like I think up until we watched the movie recently, I felt the same way that you did. I was like, what is like this is like weird. Like why is
Yeah,
she changing herself? She's dressing differently. And of course it was a lot of the noise that I was hearing over the last few decades about this film. And then they did the Fox
Grease
remake,
Live thing with
remake
Julianne Hough.
changed
Yeah,
the ending. She's still dressed in the same clothes, but she didn't like it was they it
they
was
met,
more like
I feel like they met in the middle more.
yeah, exactly.
It was a little
So,
slightly modernized. Yeah,
yeah. So, first of all, you know, that was the time. Like that was the time for a long time that women kind of acquiesce to their men. Okay. But to, aside from that, yeah, she dresses all like um scantily clad.
and again, as a man with eyeballs, I'm not complaining about that. But also, it's just like, well, what are we trying to say?
Yeah. And she's just more scantily clad. She has on the leather and she's looking sexy, and
Yeah.
she does the the the, the, the cigarette. Um, but if you listen to the lyrics of the song, "You're the One That I Want," um, wait, that's the one, right?
Yeah,
Because they have we go together like right after that. Yeah,
they do.
you're the one. You're the one that I want. You listen to lyrics, it's her still saying to she's saying to Danny, I need you to be a man for me. Like
Yeah.
I need you to stop being a little boy and playing games, and I need you to be a man. And just because she's wearing scantily clad clothes and and a leather and looking sexy, it doesn't mean that she got rid of her values.
Mm.
Sandy is still Sandy. She still has those values that have made her such a great protagonist. There was nothing in what she was doing before that song and after that song that would make you think that she just got rid of her values. And I think
Right.
when she talks to Frenchie, she's like, I know how I can be okay. I think it was her way of trying to find a balance between being Sandra D and being like a new improved Sandy who isn't so like boring, I guess. Like I don't know, and that's not nice to say because like,
I thought
you
you were
know,
gonna say something worse. I thought you were gonna say prudish, and I'm like, that's not prudish. She's not ready to go to that step because she hasn't gone together with us like
well, no, but
everybody,
she
like
doesn't
he
want
is.
to. I mean, and not to say that she should smoke either because that's
Right,
gross.
right.
At least, I mean,
But in the
even
50s, they were like, it's what all the people do. I
yeah,
guess
but
it wasn't as
she
much of a thing.
couldn't. She basically like I guess it was her but trying to find that balance of how she could hang with the Pink
Right.
Ladies and still be herself, and how she
Hmm.
could be with Danny but still be herself.
Yeah.
Because is herself like that conservative, or is she a little bit more? Is she is, or can she be more fun and like let loose and just have to find that way to do that? And I just don't think the movie had the best message on how to convey that.
It's mixed a little bit. I see what you're saying. And when we watched it together for this, I was kind of like, okay, I get it. It's there, but it's also confusing and not as clear as maybe I think it means to be. It's like she needs to get his attention and wake him up and be like, "All right, I'm here. I'm willing to kind of meet you in the middle. Now you got to stop messing with me." Like to your point, playing games because every throughout the whole movie, he's like, "Oh, hey, oh, then maybe there's two of us." And like he's just completely changing the way he is around her, around with her, around his friends, because he's got to keep up appearances. And that's a lot of this movie too, is like, well, who are you, who are you code switching for, which is a term. Like, who are you, are you going to be who your friends want you to be? Are you going to be who your partner wants you to be? Like, where is the middle ground between just shaking all of that off and being, and that's where the coming of age part of it comes into play. Like, how are you going to find your own way and kind of shake off everyone else, which I think is, now watching it, a real, like, focal point of the movie, because everybody, including Frenchie, who leaves to go to beauty school and then drops out and comes back in the same school year, everybody's just kind of trying things out and trying to figure out, well, where do they belong? Who do I belong with, etc. And so I think from that perspective, I think it's I'm slowly making peace with the ending of it, because it is more about them sort of trying to find literally a balanced relationship, because they're on that, like, seesaw thing and they're going back and forth.
Ah,
He's up, she's up, like this, and it's like them
that's a
trying to
good.
find their way.
Yeah, good
So,
catch.
yeah. And you mentioned the Pink Ladies, and one thing that really struck me is how cooler they are than the T-Birds. Like, I was just we were watching the T-Birds, like, and I was like, is this a gang or like a geek squad? Because other than Danny and Kaniki, like, then three idiots. And meanwhile, with the Pink Ladies, I feel like,
And maybe the Stooges routine.
yeah, exactly. I feel like the Pink Ladies, all those characters are much richer. We also understand their even Jan and Marty, like, everybody has a very specific um set of characteristics. Like, we know who they are, where they're coming from. Whereas with the T-Birds, the other three guys are very interchangeable to me. What's your take on the T-Birds versus the Pink Ladies? And
Oh,
pro are you pro the Rise of the Pink Ladies Paramount Plus series that they ended up doing?
well, about the first question, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely the Pink Ladies are so much cooler than the
Yeah.
T-Birds. Like, I don't know uh, where Zuko and Kaneki picked up those doofuses, but like, no, and no, they're not. I don't know.
They're not cool at all. I don't get
They're
it.
not cool at all. No, and yeah, the Pink Ladies are much cooler. And I feel like there's more equality with them than
Yeah.
with the T-Birds. Like,
Yeah.
and I know that they all make fun of each other, but a lot of the teasing with Kaneki, with the three other guys, it's like mean.
Yeah.
They get bored on mean, and meanwhile, like the Pink Ladies are just doing some like uh, poking fun a little bit. Nothing like
Jan
this too hurtful.
Jan is like the goofiest one, but like Frenchie's cool, Marty's cool, obviously Rizzo's cool. Like, there's a bunch of cool ladies. So I like them. And I don't think they needed to do a TV show kind of with the prequel, obviously. But I think it is notable that Didi Khan's Frenchie was one of the only returning people for Grease 2, which we will not be covering. But you and I have watched and are like, this is bad. But a lot of people stand up for it. So commentary at some point,
Is it
I don't
Michelle
know.
Pfeiffer? Is that why? Because
I
she's
don't know. I
no,
It
but no,
was
I don't.
hard to watch for me.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't care about Rise of the Pink Ladies. If I did, I would have watched it by now. I would have been like, "We've got Paramount Plus for this." Oh, and with Grease too, I wanted. I remember when that came out because then I think it was playing on TV with somebody's house, and I wanted to see it so bad. And I'm watching some of it. I'm like, "Oh, this is not good." And like I knew as a little kid that it was not good,
Mhm.
and my opinion has not changed. Not good.
No. I did find it interesting too, because we were watching. I may have a note here that Danny is the only T-Bird that has perspective. Like, he's the only one that's like, man, after high school, blah blah blah. Like, he's the only one that has kind of takes a step back and looks beyond, like, what are we gonna do after graduation? And I love that scene, and I pointed this out to you, and I wanted to mention it here. That scene with Kaniki, where Kaniki's asking him to be his second, and it's like, you like legitimate, like, male bonding. Like, you see the two of them shake off their whole, like, bravado. for 2 seconds to just be like goofy friends, and they hug and they have like a weird silly moment, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, okay, cool, man, and then they kind of shake off. I thought that was adorable. And to your point about at the time, it was hard for men to like be genuine and like vulnerable with each other. And so seeing that in this movie, I thought was really says a lot about that friendship and how kind of formative that is, which makes me kind of transitions to my next point, which I told you I was going to bring up on this podcast, which is what is the, in your opinion, what is the deal with Danny and Rizzo? What happened? She seems really bitter about whatever went down between them. What is your headcanon for the Danny Rizzo backstory going into this?
Yeah, I think there's definitely have been rumors that Danny and Rizzo hooked up. That's what a lot of the internet world is, internet verse is saying.
Mhm.
I only know this also because I did research after the movie, but it's also like if that did happen, why does Kaneki not know about it? Like,
Or
I
does
think
he? And it's just like it's high
it
school.
doesn't.
This person dated this person, and that's it.
I
It's
don't think
whatever.
so. In the movie, it did not seem like Kaneki. If that happened, it didn't seem like Kaneki had any idea.
Right.
It doesn't even seem like he even knew about Danny and Chacha. Like
Yeah.
he's like so out of the loop. And then meanwhile, it could have happened because it does seem like the pink ladies knew about something, or maybe Rizzo just has had a crush on Danny, and he's just not like. And she
He
like
was.
really legitimately likes him, and he's like just is like, oh well, I'll hook up with you, or I don't like you like that, or and because there was that comment in the beginning of the movie where Jan says to Rizzo, she's like, Zuko looking good this year, huh, Riz? Like, and
Mhm.
so it could be, I'm saying, she's saying that because to highlight that they used to date, or she's just saying that because she's like, yeah, Riz, I know you like him and you think he's hot. Like, doesn't even look even better this year or whatever. Um, I don't know, but there's definitely seems to be more on the side of like Rizzo with that tension
Yeah.
than Danny, I think. So,
She
but
gets that
no,
extra
no,
sense of satisfaction kind of tossing Sandy and Danny together because she knew Danny was going to be the version of Danny that the T-Birds expect, and it was going to go badly, and then she gets like has like that smirk before she walks away. So I was like,
yeah,
damn, Rizzo, why you gotta create all this drama? Isn't high school dramatic enough?
or maybe like because clearly, Kidiki and Danny have been friends a long time, and maybe like the three of them grew up together, or maybe they all grew up together, or something like that, and they were young kids, and they,
We have to
had a
watch
very
Rise of the Pink Ladies. It's probably
oh,
in there.
maybe, and it was just like something sweet that they had, and Danny was a jerk like he is, and he really hurt Rizzo's feelings, and then that's when she turned like bitter and more of a um, sexually liberated.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I don't know.
But yeah, maybe it is in that show, or
Interesting.
maybe they didn't think about it at all because it's
We've
after the
given it more
fact.
thought than the filmmakers, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so.
There's
Definitely.
baggage there. Let's just put it that way. I want to start talking about the music in a second, but also I wanted to make sure I pointed out the actress playing the staff in the school. Eve Arden as Principal McGee, Judy Goodman as Blanche, and then obviously Sid Caesar as Coach Calhoun. Really, it's cool to have like that older generation of stars just kind of in here. I think Sid Caesar is a real does a lot with the little bit of screen time he has. And also watching it now and being like, wow, we're closer to the we're if we were in this movie, we would be the teachers, not the students at this point in our 40s. So I thought that was interesting. And then all the sort of like allusions to the real life 50s, where it's the show that they're on is like what National Bandstand basically, which is a thinly veiled American Bandstand kind of thing. There's lots of mentions of Annette Funicello and Elvis and things like that. So I think it's cool that they sort of ground it in that way. Any thoughts on any of that before we get into the music?
No, I thought it was
Anything else
interesting
in
though.
your
Those
notes?
three, those three actors were in the second movie too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I think
that's
they're
cool.
all not with us anymore, right?
I would think so. I know Sid Caesar definitely passed away, and Eve Arden. So yeah, I would say that's definitely the case.
Because they were already kind of old when the movie was
Well,
out.
yeah, they all passed away. In 1978, like what, almost 47 years ago or something like that. But yeah, obviously there is a ton of iconic music in Greece. It's the reason that little Kai was so interested in what was going on in Rydell High. But let's talk about 6 of the songs.
Let's talk about six, baby. Let's talk about flicks and me. Let's talk about what the good films and the bad films are to me. Let's talk about six. Let's talk about six.
Moment of truth, Kai. What do you have at number 6, and why is it at number 6?
Number 6 is the Grease theme. And I think some of that is because I really like the animation, and then it drove the movie. And it's just like it doesn't sound like a movie song. It just sounds like a good song. So,
Yeah, it's like Frankie Valli made it for radio, and then was like, oh, and also it's good for this movie. Like that wasn't the case clearly because it's the title song of the movie, but it feels like that way. It feels like the radio single off of this soundtrack of a movie based on a Broadway musical. And to your point with the stage production, like the original play was missing several of these songs, including Grease, which I think is part of why the movie became such a pop culture phenomenon. And then since then, they've reinstituted a lot of those songs in subsequent productions of the show on stage.
oh yeah.
Because yeah, oh yeah. In the original version, they didn't have Grease, they didn't have Hopelessly Devoted to You. I think there's another one or two. And then in future versions, they brought some of that stuff back. They did a revival on Broadway in 1994. There was touring in 96, and then a Broadway revival in
Mm,
2007, and blah, blah, blah. So um, there's definitely a revamped version of it's one of those cases where, and this might be the case with Wicked, bringing this sort of string of episodes full circle, where the movie was such a huge deal that because of the movie, they went back and made changes to the show, which I think is interesting.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, so
yeah, go ahead.
they made those changes in 1994 for the revival. So that was a year after I saw it
Oh, there you
on
go.
stage. I believe I was 10 years old. So yeah, if I had just seen it when I was 11, maybe I wouldn't have disliked it as much
Yeah. Well,
because we've been
we'll have to.
closer.
Well, maybe they will bring it back again, and you can see those things on stage at some point. And
There
we
you
can bring
go.
our daughter because she'll be of sound mind and enough to get the right message from the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
At number 6, go ahead. You look like you want to say something. I was going to do my number 6, but
Oh, there's that well with Grease though. They that's something that that's a musical they do all the time, and not
yeah.
necessarily like a theater tour, but just the community theater.
Well,
You go
yes.
to one of those.
Yeah. It's that. It's always that. Number 6, I have. I feel like I'm going to get my first groan from Kai with my number 6. Number 6, I have Sandy, which I really like this song. I think it's funny. I love the the like wounded like masculinity. I love the way it's framed with him standing in the drive-in screen in the back way with the little dancing snack foods and all of that. I love the stranded at the drive-in, rented a food.
Ooh,
I think Travolta's delivery is so hilarious and funny and sweet. I especially love the spoken word interlude in the middle where he's like, Sandy, my darling, you hurt me real bad. And I was like, Jesus. I just think it's a really fun song, and we don't get a lot of. That's like it's basically our only Danny solo because he sings with the T-Birds, he sings with Sandy. So this is like us getting hit. What's he like at his most vulnerable when he's by himself? It's a different version of the character than we see at different places throughout the movie. But
well, if you notice, those are the only solos there
yeah,
are vulnerables.
well,
Like
I know. We might not
the
be
John
done.
Travolta,
I might
the
have
maybe
some. Don't
John
spoil my list, yo.
and
Stalker
Rizzo.
Channing, yeah.
But Kaneki doesn't get one.
He's not that deep.
So,
I don't think. I don't think there's much.
are you
No
sure?
offense.
Because
No offense to Kaneki, but I don't think there's much. There's not a lot there going on.
but he goes up to Danny and he's like,
I know. I love
"Hey,
that
buddy,
moment.
you that girl?"
Yeah.
I was thinking about you, or you'd be my second. Like, I don't know. He seems like he's delivering some of the more wonderful moments.
I'll make an honest woman of you. That whole thing. No, I like Kaneki.
Right.
R.I.P. Jeff Conaway. And Olivia and John, as you mentioned. It's a real bummer watching it now. You're like, man, so many of these people are gone. So what do you have at number 5?
Hand jive
Born to Hand
from the
Jive.
dance sequence. For those that don't know, yeah, it's just fun. I love that they're like, of
I don't
course they're
remember how
being,
to do it. Yeah.
they're being teenagers and like being completely being troublemakers on the floor and on video, and they're doing this swing dancing, which I thought was, well, they're doing more just swing dancing earlier on in the dance, so they were for hand jive. But yeah, it's just fun. It's a fun song, and
it's easy to do. It's like part patty cake, part like it's like hands on your knees, then like they go like this, then like that or something. Yeah, it's an easy thing to do. So yeah, I get it. It's fun. Number 5, I have the most profane song in this movie, Grease Lightning. It's a real pussy wagon, apparently. It's a classic song. We enter sort of a dreamscape during this number where they're in the garage and they're all like fixing the car, and then suddenly they're in the t-shirts at the white backdrop, and
that's a 50s thing.
100%.
That's a 50s thing from those movies. I think maybe that was maybe a homage
maybe
to the movies, and maybe that's what the beginning of the movie was too, with them on the beach. Maybe like a Splendor, that Splendor in the Sun movie.
Love is a many splendor thing kind of vibe. But
Yeah, like I'm trying to show an homage to those
yeah
50s, those classic movies.
Yeah. Well, and they mention Annette Funicello a lot. She's famous, like a million of those beach movies back in the day. So there's a little bit of that going on too.
Okay.
And it's also the Chicago vibe, like the movie Chicago, where what's real and what they're imagining is two totally different things. And they imagine sort of this idyllic version of what the car and what it's going to do and all this other stuff, and how it's going to change their sex lives and all of that. So I thought that was really fun. And we get Kaneki going, keep talking, we'll keep talking, which I love. And then 3 other guys that are there, but who cares about them? What did you have?
Hold on a second, though.
Yeah, go comment, please.
I know this is your list, but I'm a little disappointed that Grease Lightning is so low.
Sorry.
Considering like what a classic song to this movie.
I mean, they're personalized to the individual.
I know.
I wouldn't put Born to Hand, spoilers for my list. There's no hand driving on my list. I did have Grease. I guess this is a spoiler for my list. Also, I did have Grease as an honorable mention because of the animated opening. I had a note for that and everything. But yeah, so we have 4 more.
They did dirty,
I'm sure you'll disagree with most of mine, but we'll get there. What do you have at number 4?
This I would say probably would have been higher if I was younger. With Summer Lovin'. Yeah, I used to love this song, and I don't know, like I think watching it this time around, like a decade later, and like 20 years after the first few times, I just don't know. I don't know if I like it as much. I think because I've heard it so much over the decades, and I mean it's definitely fun. Like I love like them like all singing together, and like it's a fun song. I just don't love it as much as I used to. I do have an anecdote though.
Okay,
So my friend that I was talking about that does theater, we all used to live together when we were younger. My mom, her mom, we all used to live together, and soon after we moved in, she had told her mom, she's like, "Oh, Kai has Summer Lovin'," and her mom's like, "Oh, hold on," and her mom was like a big actor person too, and so she's going in the room to get changed, and I turned on Summer Lovin', and it was I turned on Summer Nights by or Summer Days by Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff, and she's like, "No," she's like, "What?" She's like, "No, Summer Lovin' from Grace." I'm like, oh, yes, of course. So I got my cassette out of my Grease soundtrack, and I'm like 10 years old at this point, so I've had this soundtrack for a long time. And then I turned the music on, and then her mom came out in her summer lovin' outfit, I guess, and then we all just danced around the living room. But that's why, yeah. So summer lovin' was it back when I was younger.
Well, I know this is your list, but I'm surprised. I'm disappointed to see Summer Nights so low on this list.
It's summer
Um,
nights, right?
it is Summer Nights,
I
not
can't
Summer Lovin'.
say-
I knew
you
what you
say
meant. And the Will Smith song is
That's why
Summertime,
I
not
got
Summer Days.
confused. That's why I thought it was summer.
The Will Smith song is
Wow.
Summertime, not Summer
Oh,
Days,
oh
and
boy.
it's sampling Summer Madness, I think, by
Yes.
is this Kool and the Gang, which is a
So
great song.
guys,
Rules.
this is the
It's
40
a lot of
something
summer
coming out.
days, nights, loving, lots of stuff. It's a lot of summer. But no, I get it. But
Summer nights. But they were together. The clips that we saw were them during the day. So that's why I feel it should at least be summer
yeah,
days, not summer nights. That's confusing myself. But anyway,
it is confusing. I don't know. My number 4, it looks like, just to clarify something I said earlier, it looks like Summer Nights was in the original Broadway production.
yeah, that makes sense.
Not the original Chicago production. But it wasn't in the original version, like I said, the original Chicago production. But so some of the songs were added after the fact and taken out, and it's been. I think this movie really crystallized. Well, what exactly is Grease? What are people expecting from Grease? So number 4, I think, is a good example of that, because my number 4, because it's not in the original Broadway production, and my number 4 is "You're the One That I Want," which, hard to imagine this movie without that song. But it was not in the original version of this. It was introduced, and looks like, according to my the most accurate website on the internet, wikipedia.com or .org, it looks like it was added for the 1993 West End revival, and then obviously for subsequent productions as well. But
15 years it took them to put this in
I
the
guess
Broadway, in the musical.
I feel like we talked a lot about "You're the One That I Want" already. All the stuff we said about the ending is kind of baked into that song. It's the most, I think, the most famous one. It's like, if you don't know anything about Grease, you'll know this song. Like, oh yeah, I've heard that. It's like the example I go to a lot, because I didn't see the movie until really all the way through until my 20s. It's like the time warp of this movie. Like, everybody knows the song Time Warp. Our kids know the song Time Warp, but they're never going to see anything from Rocky Horror Picture Show until they get much older. But if you don't
That's
know
another one
anything,
I saw when I was
great
really
movie.
young.
I so often want to cover that somewhere, but then I'm like, but it's kind of an iconic thing. It's got my boy Tim Curry in it. I have I have a whole separate kind of idea for wanting to do some Tim Curry coverage. So I've been holding back on it, but I do love that movie a lot. But yeah, so "You're the One That I Want," I had it at number 4. What do you have at number 3?
We Go Together.
Oh man, our lists are completely different,
Yeah,
which
I
is great,
know.
which is good. That's more, we're covering more of the songs that way. What's why do you like the song? Because the lyrics are easy to remember?
Yeah.
Womp bumpa loo bop womp bam boom.
Yeah, and I think it's just seeing them all together. Like the song doesn't have as much oomph when you just
Yeah.
listen to it by itself, like on the soundtrack. Um, but when you see it at the end of the movie, as a culmination of everything, and like the friendship and the fun that they had during the school year and together, like I just think it's sweet, and it's fun, and I like that it's like another ensemble
Yeah.
song, and it's really everybody. Like they even have the the students, the extras, getting in
The
on it
guy
and singing
this
and
guy in the front, I don't know
yeah,
what the hell he's up to.
yeah, singing and dancing, and
Yeah.
so I like that.
And it culminates in a flying car,
You're right.
which, what's that
Can't go
about?
wrong with that.
Sure. And number 3, speaking of vulnerable ballads, is "There Are Worse Things I Could Do," because I love this song. I love the Rizzo. It's an emotional song because it's her. She also. It's ironic that she criticizes Danny so much, and like kind of puts him on his ass for being so fake with everyone, but she kind of has a sort of vibe. Like she's really kind of. I remember we were watching it, and I said, "Oh, I'll poor Rizzo. She's got such a soft side." And you're like, "She does?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did you not hear the song? Um, it's an all timer performance. This song, and it's one of the ones that I think resonates or sticks with me the most because of how raw the emotion is. I can feel and I can cry and all the stuff that she's saying in there. And it's also strange that Rizzo's storyline is about a pregnancy scare, basically. Which again, sort of risque for having a movie set in a high school that's rated PG. That's like, bring your kids about this movie where these guys are building a car so they can get so much action. And this other lady is like, no, I can't be pregnant in high school, not with this guy. And then this other one
But
takes
if
up
it was another
smoking
guy,
and
it's okay.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. She dates that other scary dude for a minute, which you were like, talk about guys that look like they're in their 30s or older. How is he in high school? Or is he in high school? It's unclear. He's not, he doesn't go to that school.
But he's always there. He's
Yeah.
always around.
He's a creeper.
Ugh,
Restraining order
no,
time. That guy should be on a
he really
list
is
somewhere.
crater. He really is crater face.
Yeah, don't like him. He sucks. But great song. But it doesn't suck? There are worse things I could do. Great song. Beautifully done by Stockard Channing.
And she does have a great voice.
She does.
Her voice is amazing, and you don't get to hear how amazing her voice is really until that song. I know there's Sandra Dee, but she was singing that song a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So.
Cool. What's in your runner-up spot? I'm nervous. Number 2.
Oh, you're the one that I want.
Oh. Anything to add? We've talked about that a lot.
No, I can't think of anything else to add to that. It's
so much of the iconography for this movie comes out of that song, to the point that the Olivia Newton-John only looks like she does in this movie, basically during that song and immediately after. And yet that's when you're like, oh yeah, her from Grease, this. I'm like, she doesn't look like that for more than 3/4 of the movie, almost the very end, the last 5 to 10 minutes. But yeah, no, that's a good call. My number 2 is Summer Nights. I love I love the opening and them on the beach, and they're like, is this the end? It's like, no, it's only the beginning. And then it cuts into Greece. So I love the beach kind of set up front, and seeing that version of Danny and the beginning of their romance, and then having two such different versions of the story being told, and the way that he's like playing things up for the boys, and the way she's like being very straightforward, and oh, he was so sweet, and and to the girls, and the dynamic, like you immediately know who all these characters are by the end of that song. You're like, oh, I get it. Including the 3 desperate guys. Like, did she put up a fight? Does she what does he say? Can you get me a friend? Can she get me a friend or whatever? I'm like,
oh,
they're such hangers on, these dudes. Yeah, it's such great stuff. And the two of them go, especially Travolta at the end he does that up into the sky. All that, so fun, iconic falsetto from Travolta, and of course Olivia Newton-John doing her thing. What did you have at number 1?
You're number 5. Greased Lightning.
Oh, there it is.
Because of course, I mean, it's epic and iconic, and of course, my word of the night, fun. It's a fun song. The lyrics good, are not so desired there, but yeah, it's just, I like it. Greased Lightning.
For a certain kind of guy, it's a good pump up jam.
Yeah, you can dance to it. You can sing to it.
I'm not surprised, because it's also the most high energy song in the movie, I would say. Or We Go Together is high energy, but like in a frantic way. This is like high energy, but like in a cool way. And the vocals are so smooth, and yeah, no, that's obviously it's in my list. That means I like it. I just didn't put it as high as you. You know what my number 1 is?
Let's see, devoted to you.
It is. I love that song so much.
I know that's a classic. Yeah.
You give me a good love ballad, and it's hard for me to pass that up. It's always going to be like either the top or close to the top. Or like an I Want song. I've said about again on the Wicked episode. It's the reason, spoilers for that episode of this podcast, that The Wizard and I was my number 2, because it was just a woman just expressing what she wants, and with a beautiful voice and belting it out, and Hopelessly Devoted to You was a creation for this movie, so I give it extra props for giving Sandy. It's also how unbalanced this movie is if that song doesn't exist. I'm sure maybe there are other songs in the original Broadway or the original stage production. Maybe Sandy had a different song instead, because I know that's the case with some of these. Like some songs aren't there because these ones replaced those or whatever. Um, but it's the perfect balance. He has Sandy and she has Hopelessly Devoted to You, and I don't know. It's so intimate, and her outside the house, and she has the scented paper, and she, as you said, you're like, she just wastes that paper. She puts it in the kiddie pool, and she's just like sending all the desires from her heart out into the universe, and it's a beautiful song, and it's an all timer. Like the two. So I almost put There Are Worse Things I Could Do at number two, but then I was like, I gotta space out those ballads a little, and Summer Nights needed to be. I needed a Danny Sandy song in my top three. So there was a lot of strategy that was involved in mine. Um, and a lot of the other songs I don't like. We Go Together. I feel like I've heard it so much because we also had the soundtrack back in the day, and I just like after a while, it grates on me. Probably in the way that you felt about Summer Nights. You're like, I get it. You guys have different experiences. Move on. Um, and then Look at Me, I'm Sandra D. I just doesn't work for me that much. So Grease was like my only major honorable mention. Did you have any that you're like, I almost could fit Beauty School Dropout, but not so much?
Ugh, no. Oh, I have attitude with that song. That whole I have a note in here too that like just
Why is
the
this
guardian
here?
angel is so mean to Frenchie. He's like rude to her.
Yeah.
Like, what type of guardian angel are you asshole? Um,
At least he's not
yeah,
all gross like
no.
Vince Fontaine.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
another thing. I'm like, ugh, what's going on,
yeah,
movie?
yeah.
Not
I was
appropriate.
just wanted to say about what was devoted to you though, that like Sandy, like she's such I think she's a great role model because, she has this song about being hopelessly devoted to this guy who's been, is doing code switching on her and not being authentic. And but she's like, he's clearly not, no, not doing right by me. He's being
Mhm.
disrespectful to me. So she starts going out with that Tom guy. And this is already basically like kind of showing that she's over Danny's crap. And but yet she still has the song and she still has those feelings. And that's that's confidence right there. That's what makes Sandy great because she didn't sell out. She didn't sell herself out. She has stood by her values and her morals and who she is. And yeah, I think that's cool.
That's also being a teenager, right? You're like, man, I have feelings for this guy, but like he's not very nice to me. But also, I can't help the way I feel, and she's very self aware. But that's also, yeah, that's classic kind of high school conundrum with their drama and stuff. Uh, I is there anything else about Greece we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure we mentioned? And then I have like
Um,
one or two more questions, and then we'll wrap up.
yeah, one thing I had the first thing I put on my notes is that it was very glamorous on the beach and is Zuko like a rich boy? And it's also kind of like that seemed to be clear. I don't know, kind of reading between the lines as you're watching him and they go to the restaurant and he's just like buying the burgers, no problem. He's not like Kaneki who's like, oh, I only have this much to spend
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I have to save up to date you. And he was just like he was just seemed a lot more, like
chill, yeah,
nonchalant about money. I don't know.
privileged,
Privilege, yeah, and he's
yeah.
going on this fancy like summer camp, or he's going summer, going on summer.
Do we know where that beach is supposed to be? Because
No,
they never tell us.
nobody, man. Meanwhile, Kaniki's saving up to buy a car,
Yeah.
and Zuko already had a car. So anyway, I also think I wanted to mention that having a woman principal in a time set in the
Mhm.
50s is very progressive.
Yeah.
Like women in the 50s weren't even working, most of them, majority of them. So the fact they have a woman principal who was also kind of intimidating, but very progressive. Another thing I wanted to mention too that I thought was it shouldn't be considered progressive, but considering it was set in the 50s, also filmed in the 70s, the fact that they have Duty being called out by Putz for sexually spying on the ladies in the bleachers
Hmm.
clearly shows that the guys may be tools, but they're not perverts, and they are not accepting of that behavior. So I
Yeah.
thought that was something to mention.
No, that's a good point. So normally around this time, I ask, is there like another, how would you sell this movie to people? But this is one of the most iconic movie musicals of all time. People at least know what Grease is. I think it was just only now by Wicked topped as the highest grossing Broadway adaptation. Or I ask people to pair this movie with something else for people that, like would watch that kind of double feature style. We already, we already mentioned Grease 2, Saturday Night Fever. If you want to go down the Olivia Newton-John rabbit hole, I've never seen Xanadu. I'd be curious because I know it's famously, uh, I guess let's say be nice and say divisive. Like I know some people really like it, but it was like a financial bomb and it's considered a cult movie. But I thought a more interesting question to sort of go out on would be, so obviously little Kai watched this movie, was like, I want to go to Rydell High one day. Oh, it's fictional, damn it. Um, which one of these characters were you in high school? Because I didn't know you in high school. I didn't meet you till we didn't meet till our late 20s. So I thought that would be more fun. So which of these uh hopefully not the Eddie Deason character, one of the nerdy guys who like this guy or whatever. So which of these characters were you most like?
Oh man, probably closer to Sandy, I'd say. I was
Sandy?
considered like a goody two shoes and like the voice of reason, but I didn't have as much like self respect as Sandy. So, but yeah, probably closer to Sandy.
That's the dream. That's the best answer, I think.
Ah, thank you.
Everybody wants to be like Sandy.
So who? What
Uh
about you?
oh, I don't have an answer. I would be one of the people off screen. I'm not interesting enough to be a character in this movie, I think would be the honest answer.
Oh,
Not now. I'm not saying now. I'm saying then because I was
oh, you
like
wouldn't
a
even be
really
Putz. No, you wouldn't be
don't
Putz.
do that to me. I choose
No,
not
you
to
wouldn't be
be.
Putz.
I would
And you're not
first of
Duty.
all, I didn't have a clique. I wasn't I was a good student, but I wouldn't necessarily say I was a nerd, but I also was like I knew most of the people because I had classes with them, but like I didn't have a social life really. So I would be I would be the character off to the side, being like, huh, what's going on with the Danny and this new girl? This is weird. That would be me. I'd be the Alan of this world. So there's a Barbie reference for people. But yeah, so that's me. I'm off camera, just off camera, looking at everything like pussy wagon. The fuck are they? Um, well, yeah. So once again, Kai, who's in the building with me anyway, thanks for coming on to discuss 1978's Grease. Tell the people where they can find you on social media.
Right now, um, you can find me on Blue Sky. I think it's like at K Elon dot the Blue Sky domain thing. And
Kelan,
that's
I had it and then now I lost it. Kelan 373 dot b sky dot social. Just if you put Kelan, it should be come up. But yes, it's
yeah. I'm
I
not currently on Facebook right now or Instagram,
you're on
and
strike.
it's right.
You're
Man,
on a meta strike,
exactly.
understandably. Understandably. Yeah, Darren and I have talked about before about how Blue Sky really needs to streamline that handle situation. So you're not like at blah blah at crooked table
Well, it's
dot
so you own
he's
your own
gonna
domain.
yeah,
That's what it is.
but it should be a cleaner way to find you on there than to have to be the whole at da 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 dot da 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 da. Like it's too long.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're working on that. Anyway, uh meanwhile
Well,
you
you
can
be
find
centralized. You want to be centralized. You
it's
gotta.
true. Meanwhile, find more episodes like this wherever you get your podcasts and on crookedtable.com. Show your support on Patreon at patreon.com/crookedtable. We're also on YouTube where you can watch the video version of this so you can see Kai and I's beautiful faces and imagine what our beautiful children look like. If you want to keep up with us on social media, that'll be at Crooked Table on Blue Sky and Instagram and Threads. Kai is not pleased with me. I was waiting for a side eye. I didn't get it. She's being all professional right now. We'll be back next episode. So now that we're done with the movie musicals, this feed will go a little bit quiet for a bit. We'll be coming back in the fall with a trip through Oz that was initially going to be earmarked for our sister show, Franchise Detours. But instead, in the fall, we're going to come back and do some of the Wizard of Oz films. So that'll be The Wizard of Oz from 1939, Journey Back to Oz from 1972, The Wiz from 1978, Return to Oz from 1985. Will I bring Kai back to talk about that? We'll see. Oz the Great and Powerful, Shudder, insert Shudder here, from 2013. And of course, this year's Wicked for Good, kind of closing the book on that. In the meantime, I'm going to try and throw up some extra episodes. As I mentioned this episode, we did see Wicked on Broadway, so I might drop a sort of mini-sode with my thoughts on that and some other things to kind of keep this feed fresh. But stay subscribed. We will be back in the fall with brand new episodes and with other thoughts sporadically therein. In the meantime, go listen to Franchise Detours, where we're about to kick off the Naked Gun trilogy, and then the Before trilogy, and then the Superman films. It's a lot of stuff happening. So keep connected with Crooked Table. A lot more coming this year. But for now, that's a wrap on another Crooked Table production. Keep watching, everybody.